Yo, how's it going? Jeff Lerner here, and we are talking about a 5-step plan to become a master copywriter. What is a copywriter? Copywriters are people that write words that sell stuff. Why would you want to become a copywriter? Well, do you like money? Do you like free time? Because let me tell you who has lots of money and lots of control over their life and where they go and what they get to do. It's people that know how to craft language that drives consumer behavior, or business behavior for that matter, into people buying stuff. Think about it. What more valuable skill is there to businesses than people that can help them sell more of their stuff? Copywriters are some of the highest paid people in the world. I mean, I know people who literally can get paid, multiple 6 figures to sit down for usually a couple days and write a letter to help somebody sell more of their stuff. And then even more valuable than that, what if you can use it to sell your own stuff? I don't do professional copywriting as a service, but I do professional copywriting for myself. And I think at last check, I've clocked almost $40 million in sales using language that I wrote myself to sell stuff. It's the most valuable skill on earth. And I'm not the only one that says this. A lot of the best entrepreneurs, best marketers in the world will tell you copywriting is the name of the game. It's the one part of your business. It's the ability to use language and craft messaging that promotes your stuff and gets your stuff sold, whatever your stuff is, products, services, etc. It's the one thing that you can almost never outsource and you can never really hand off responsibility for. Now, you might be able to bring in a copywriter to flesh things out or to fine-tune the messaging, or I realize that the sun back there is kind of annoying, but what are you going to do? You might be able to get help from a professional copywriter, but you can't bring in a professional copywriter to 100% create the message, the sales messaging of your business. You have to have some of these skills, at least a baseline, or else you're just going to flounder. I see this all the time. People do 2 things, and this is an aside. This isn't what this video is about, but let me just say, people do 2 things in their business that's total nonsense. One, they try to hire somebody else to figure out what they have to say about what they have to sell. Now, most people know what they sell, but they're like, what do I have to say about what I have to sell? How do I communicate? Oh, let me hire somebody to come in and help me figure out all my messaging. That's crazy. Nobody understands your thing like you do. If you can't articulate it, you're not gonna be able to contract someone else to do it for you. The other is people go hire, ad managers or media buyers or lead generation guys to try to blow up their business when they don't have a solid underlying business to begin with. Anyway, that's, like I said, just a personal pet peeve of mine, but I see it all over the place. People, I need more traffic, I need more leads. No, you don't. You need a better business. And one of the ways to get a better business is to get better at copywriting. Because if you have your copywriting, if you have your sales messaging dialed in, then you'll be able to actually test and evaluate whether or not you have a good business. If you know that your sales skills are good, but your sales are not good, then it means that your product or your offer is not good. If you don't know that your sales skills are good, if you don't know that your copywriting and messaging skills are in place, then you never know if it's because you have a bad offer or just because you suck at selling it. So you got to get good at selling. Then you can actually test your offer, whatever your offer is, to market. So how do you get to be a good copywriter? In 5 simple, not easy, simple steps. First of all, start reading. If you're not already in the habit of, start reading actual books. I'm not talking about internet blogs. I'm not talking about, book summaries. I'm talking about reading actual books, developing the love affair with language that can really only be lived out through long form, sophisticated written content. There's just something that happens in the brain when you get into the flow, the mental flow of the language that the best writers in the world, which are the people who publish books, these are the best people at writing stuff, and you spend hours and hours in their heads, because when you're reading their words, you're living in their heads. And when you get into that flow for long periods of time, it activates certain centers of your brain that otherwise they literally just are dormant and atrophied and underdeveloped. They atrophy quickly. You have to be a consistent reader of actual books if you ever want to be a high performance writer of actual anything that people are going to want to read. So start reading actual books. And while you're at it, reading actual books, my second step is read anything and everything you can by a guy named Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy, there's all these old school copywriting guys, and I love them. They're amazing. Guys like Gary Halbert, Joe Sugarman, for example. There's one guy I'm trying to think of. It's like stalling out of my brain. But anyways, these guys that sort of developed the art. David Ogilvy was one of old school messaging. Robert Cialdini's Influence, by the way, actually is a super timely book. I should probably put that on the list. That's one of the most influential books in my life. But anyway, there's all these guys that kind of talk about the old school of direct sales and direct selling and how to sell through long form copy and whatnot. But Dan Kennedy's the guy who's, quote, one of the older guard people, but who I think has always kept it the most relevant in terms of the new school, because obviously consumer psychology has changed and people don't respond to messaging the way that they used to. And I think Dan Kennedy's always done a really good job of writing in a timeless way, about writing in a timeless way. And he's also one of the highest paid copywriters in the world, or he was before he got really sick. So step one, read actual books. Step two, read anything by Dan Kennedy, anything and everything. And join his No BS Inner Circle group, his coaching group, which is, considering I have a coaching group, I should probably not be out there recommending other people's, but I have no stake in telling you that, but I'm telling you his stuff is amazing. Get as much of it as you can. And then I have 4 specific other books that I'm going to tell you to read. And if you're watching this going, oh my gosh, this guy's telling me to read all these books. Sorry, not sorry. That's life. Like, there's a reason most people aren't that great with language. It's because they don't spend that much time with language. And most people that do spend a lot of time with language spend it like reading little snippets and articles and BuzzFeed top 10 lists and stuff on the internet. Like, there's a lost art of going really in depth with language that's like reading actual, and not fiction. I mean, fiction's cool. I love fiction, especially if it's, metaphorical or philosophical fiction, like some Ayn Rand. I can dig into some Ayn Rand or some, Joseph Conrad or some Melville or that kind of stuff. But read to learn. Don't just read to distract. Don't just read to entertain. Read to learn. Read to get better. Read because it's the best way there is to get inside the heads and to think the thoughts of really, really smart people. Think about what reading is. Reading is a portal into the mind of some of the smartest people in the world. It lets you think their thoughts by reading their words. So read with the intent of saying, I'm going to find the smartest people that are the most relevant to what I want to do in my life. And I'm going to crawl inside their heads through their books. And I'm going to think with their thoughts. And I'm going to speak their words. I'm not just going to have a whole video, multiple videos about how to read more effectively. But I'll just say this for now. Read them out loud. As much as can, even if you're in a quiet room or you feel like you can't speak loudly. There's called sub-vocalization, where as you read, you say, just that little bit of vocalization, it sort of imprints the words that you're reading in a different way. But anyways, so here are 4 books that I want you to read. One is called Story by Robert McKee. And it's not a book about copywriting. It's a book about story. It's actually a book about screenwriting, writing for the screen. But the reason I love it for copywriting is because all good copywriting is always story-based. As they say, facts tell, stories sell. Understanding what makes a good story will help you understand what makes good sales copy. The next is a book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And I love this, who was the lead hostage negotiator for the FBI. And, talk about a guy that knows how to close a deal. And the reason I love this book in the context of copywriting is because it helps sort of set the tone that you are focused on a singular objective when you're writing copy, and not to compromise that objective, but to be tactical and strategic in that objective and see it all the way through. Because obviously when you're negotiating hostages, there's no such thing as getting 90% of the way to the objective. You either get all the way there or the person dies. And that's how I think you have to approach sales copy, is that I'm going to see this thing all the way through. I'm going to get people all the way to the end of the journey to where they close the deal. And not only they close the deal, they're happy about it. They're excited about it. They're ready to tear into their new product or service, whatever it is. And anything short of that is total failure. And, somebody died, metaphorically. The consequences are that severe for not doing the job with excellence. The next book that I'm going to recommend is called Made to Stick. And this is a book that helps you understand really why things are, quote, sticky. They have that virality aspect. They tend to lodge in people's consciousness. Really good copywriting always has something about it that stands out, or that's novel or distinct. Every good piece of copy. This is why copywriting is so hard to teach, because every really good piece of copy is by definition something that's very unique. And even if it follows certain patterns, even if it was built off of a certain template or formula, there's going to have to be some unique twist that makes it sticky, that makes it lodge in people's minds. And that's almost an act of artistic creation every single time. Great copywriters aren't people that have great formulas. They're people that have great imaginations, and they have great processes for tapping into those imaginations in strategic ways. And then the final book that I'm going to have you read is actually 10X by Grant Cardone. And you might think, what on this earth does that book have to do with copywriting? It doesn't, but Grant Cardone's a great example of a person who's not a great, I would say stylistically and classically, not a great copywriter, and probably not even a great writer, but he nails the other things. He creates virality. He has sticky ideas. And I think the reason his ideas are sticky, he actually spells it out in that book. It's because his ideas are big. The core takeaway from the 10X book, most people read 10X book and they think, I've got to, the takeaway is I need to do 10 times more than the next guy. I need to up level my action and my drive and my passion and my energy by 10X. I didn't take that away from that book because I already operated that level. I already do more than, I had somebody literally 2 days ago say to me, Jeff, you are the single hardest working person I know. And you're also the only person I know who doesn't actually have to work. And yet you outwork all the people I know who do have to work. I take that was like literally, I honestly like teared up. I got that little feeling and like little pressure in my eyes. It was that, no, you could pay me no greater compliment. The thing is, I'm already operating at that 10X level of effort. My takeaway from that book, and I think the genius inside of that book that Cardone shares is, the 10X effort, that should be a given. Like if you want to be exceptional in this world, you're going to have to outwork the average person. But the idea, the vision, thinking a bigger idea is what even a lot of really hardworking people stop short, and they're scared to actually create a 10X vision. Don't just work 10 times harder than the average person. Think 10 times bigger than the average person. The average person wants to make $1 million. You should want to make $10 million. And if you're surrounded by, if you start thinking that, man, I really could make $10 million, think about how to make $100 million. It'll stretch your thinking. And when you stretch, when you stretch your thinking, I need to keep at least one hand on the wheel here. I am stuck in like parking lot traffic on the freeway in Vegas right now. So I'm not in any danger. But when you start stretching your thinking, then there's all this space that the original idea, it's almost like getting pulled apart in the bigger space. And so you have to fill in the voids with new ideas, new creative energy, new concepts. And by simply trying to add size to your idea, it will naturally draw out a lot of creativity and a lot of innovation just to fill up the vacuum of the size. So thinking bigger to me is the big takeaway from 10X. And that's a huge part of copywriting is being willing to go to bold, almost dreamlike, fantastical places in your language that seem beyond or super normal. And a lot of people tend to limit themselves, and their copy reflects that. Their copy ends up sounding kind of flat and dull because they're not speaking to people's dreams. In dreams, we're not limited by the 3 dimensions. We can go as big as we want. And I think our copy needs to do that. So the 3 tips so far, or 3 steps, I'm giving 5, but the 3 are: read actual books, Next is read anything you can by Dan Kennedy, which, by the way, steps 2 and 3 support step 1 because these are actual books. Step 3 is to read those 4 books: Story, Never Split the Difference, Made to Stick, and 10X. Step 4 is to become an observer, a diligent observer of salesmanship in language in practice. So as you're on the internet, as you're browsing, or in magazines, we see good long form sales material in magazines now, but a lot of this happens on the internet. Next time you go through an offer that has a really good sales video, or even a really good sales letter or a video sales letter, sometimes it's like a slideshow, and you know you're gonna buy, don't try to remember, just remember. There is no try, do or do not, right? Yoda taught us that. Actually, before you move on, stop and copy the sales letter. Either save the page, print the page. If it's a video, go back and watch it. And you're actually going to write out the sales letter, this sales letter or this sales copy that is moving you to make a purchase. You're going to copy it out and try to get inside the mind of the copywriter. And as you're reading Dan Kennedy, he's going to teach you all the sort of twists and turns and nuances, but there's no substitute for seeing how it actually unfolds in practice, when in the moment, in a way that you actually respond to as a consumer. So next time you're going to buy something, stop and analyze what it is that's making you want to buy it. And I recommend that you either write out by hand, or you pull up, get a laptop or pull up on another tab or another screen and type out the message. Literally get it into your own fingers, your own hands, and your own mind, and type out the message. Copying, this is something Gary Halbert teaches, that you copy other people's sales letters to develop your own sales language. And then the 5th step to becoming a great copywriter is to basically, I call this the Kern method. Frank Kern always says, make more offers. Just sell more stuff. People are like, they want to be great at selling, but it's like they want to wait to sell until they're great at selling. Like, oh, don't sell yet because you're not good enough. No, sell now. If you want to be good at something, do it. You have to miss thousands of shots to be a great basketball player. You have to stumble and fumble through hundreds of pitches and start writing, sell in every video you shoot, sell in every article you write. And people say, oh, there's a time and place for selling. There's a time and place for hard selling, but there's never a time and place. There's never a wrong place to offer value and be invitational about people who want more value to come, pursue that through some sort of a deal. Example in this video, I'll say right now, let me think of something. I mentioned a membership. I have a membership. It's called EntreNation. I basically teach entrepreneurial thinking in this world. It helps business owners grow their business. It helps aspiring entrepreneurs build a business. And it helps anybody, professionals or otherwise, be more valuable, more profitable, more successful in this world by developing their entrepreneurial thinking. And it starts at $29 a month. And if you go to EntreNation.com, you can learn more about it and decide if it's something you want to be a part of. Like, that didn't kill me. I just made you an offer. Make more offers and get more natural and more comfortable with selling. Because this is the key, is you don't want, if you're still in the mode where selling stuff is like this other thing, you have to like hop out of your normal life and go into your sales life, and now you're going to sell, and it feels weird and foreign. It's like dressing up in a Halloween costume for one night a year, and then, I can get back to my normal life, right? I can take the wig off. Then sales is always going to feel weird. You have to get to where you do so much of it that it starts to dovetail into your normal life, and you just become a person who's value-based, who's all about seeking win-wins, and who knows that at any given time, you have enough belief and enough passion that you could possibly transfer that to someone else to help make a deal. And your copy will reflect that. Good copywriting is always going to have to seem natural. If it ever sounds forced, it's not going to be effective. And if you're not practiced at selling, then it's always going to be forced and therefore not effective. Anyways, hope that helps. 5 steps to becoming a great copywriter. And yeah, don't forget, EntreNation.com. It's less than $1 a day. I sound like one of those people talking about how to feed starving kids for less than $1 a day. For less than the cost of 1 cup of coffee a day, you could afford to buy the whole Starbucks if you join EntreNation.com. Thanks for your time, everyone.